In 2022, police entered a home in Slaughter, Louisiana, and found a scene so grotesque that some officers vomited on the spot. Lacey Fletcher's body had literally fused into the couch. Her flesh melded with the fabric after 12 years of immobility. But the real question isn't just how she got there. It's why her parents, who walked past her every day, did nothing. The coroner called it the worst case of neglect he'd ever seen. And what did her parents say afterward? It'll make your stomach turn. Born on October 23rd, 1985, in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Lacey Fletcher was just like any other young girl, full of promise and potential. But as the years passed, Lacey's world grew smaller. Her condition, a severe form of autism, would become a key factor in the isolation that would define her life. For most children, this would have been the beginning of a journey filled with support, therapy, and a chance at a life of independence. But for Lacey, this was where the story began to turn dark. Her parents, Clay and Sheila Fletcher, had no way of knowing how quickly things would begin to spiral. It began with small signs that no one took seriously enough. As Lacey's autism made it more difficult for her to communicate, her parents' response was isolation. Instead of reaching out to the community, medical professionals, or support systems, they retreated. Lacey was confined to the home, and as the years passed, no one saw how deeply she was sinking into a silent hell. As the story unfolds, we'll learn how this neglect turned into a nightmare, a story that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about trust, safety, and love. And Lacey Fletcher was once a lively, outgoing girl who lit up any room she entered. Classmates at Brownsville Baptist Academy remember her as the first to welcome new students, always smiling and eager to make friends. She played volleyball, attended church regularly, and seemed like any other happy teenager. But all that changed when she turned 14. Without warning, her parents pulled her out of school, telling teachers she would be homeschooled from then on due to worsening social anxiety. At first, no one questioned this decision. Her parents insisted she was doing fine, just quieter than before. But as months turned into years, people who knew Lacey grew suspicious. Former classmates who occasionally spotted her family in town noticed something odd. They never saw Lacey anymore. When neighbors asked Sheila and Clay Fletcher why they hadn't seen their daughter, the answers were always identical. "She's fine," followed by an abrupt subject change. Robert Blades, who lived nearby, was one of the last people to see Lacey in public around age 21. He remembers watching her walk down the street, carrying small weights, appearing healthy at first glance. After that day, she vanished completely. Experts say extreme social withdrawal like Lacey's doesn't happen overnight. Psychologists familiar with similar cases explain how untreated anxiety can spiral into complete isolation without professional help. What began as homeschool lessons soon turned into full confinement. While claiming their daughter simply lacked social skills, her parents allowed no visitors, kept curtains drawn, and effectively erased her existence from the community. Meanwhile, Sheila Fletcher continued working as a court clerk, known for her professionalism. Clay remained active with local Civil War groups. They expertly maintained their respectable image while hiding something unspeakable just behind their doors. Their story about Lacey changed depending on who asked, sometimes describing her as withdrawn, sometimes claiming she had autism. Close friends from her school days found these explanations strange. Are we talking about the same girl? One former classmate later asked investigators, remembering the outgoing teenager they once knew. The last confirmed sighting of Lacey alive was in 2010 when she was photographed at Disney World with her parents. In the photo, she looked substantially thinner than in previous years. After this trip, no one outside her immediate family would see her again for over a decade. During this time, her parents told everyone she was comfortable at home, living quietly. They implied she simply preferred solitude, yet no doctors or therapists ever visited the house. The community's polite acceptance of these explanations would later haunt those who realized they'd missed the signs. For 12 years, Lacey disappeared from public view while her parents continued their daily lives unchanged. Neighbors might have noticed laundry never included teenage clothing, or that holiday decorations appeared outside only when the family wanted to maintain appearances. Behind closed doors, Lacey's world was shrinking to a single couch in a darkened living room, where she reportedly ate, slept, and eventually became physically trapped as untreated medical conditions took over. The vibrant girl who once thrived around others spent her final years unseen by anyone except the two people who should have protected her most. In January 2022, this carefully constructed illusion shattered when emergency responders finally entered that seemingly normal house. Officers called later said nothing could have prepared them for what they found: an entire human skeleton fused into the couch fabric, surrounded by evidence that proved life had continued around this horror for over a decade without intervention. The girl who vanished wasn't lost to some mysterious outside force. She'd been disappearing slowly, systematically, right in her own childhood home. The couch where Lacey Fletcher spent her final years wasn't just a piece of furniture anymore. It had become part of her body. When investigators entered the Fletcher home in January 2022, they found Lacey's remains fused to the cushions in a way that made it difficult to tell where skin ended and fabric began. The blackened, decomposed tissue had literally grown into the material after countless hours of uninterrupted contact. First responders reportedly vomited at the scene, with coroner Dr. Bickham admitting he couldn't eat properly for a week after witnessing the carnage. Forensic examination revealed the brutal reality of Lacey's last years. She weighed only 96 pounds at death, her body ravaged by multiple life-threatening conditions simultaneously progressing without treatment. The autopsy showed acute ulcers, extreme malnutrition, and osteomyelitis, a severe bone infection leading to sepsis. Medical experts confirm these conditions don't develop overnight. Sepsis requires days of untreated infection, while osteomyelitis forms over weeks of immobility. The coroner noted COVID as a contributing factor, meaning Lacey suffered a viral infection atop everything else in her final days. The couch itself told a silent story of prolonged suffering. Saturated with years of accumulated waste, urine had soaked completely through the cushions to stain the floor beneath. Forensic analysts observed how waste decomposition had chemically burned Lacey's skin where it made constant contact. Despite this, investigators noted the surrounding living space maintained an eerie normalcy. Clean blankets sat folded nearby, alongside skincare products and entertainment items. A disturbing contrast to the biohazard zone surrounding Lacey. Her parents later claimed Lacey ate normally, But forensic evidence contradicted this completely. Extreme malnutrition doesn't occur from temporary appetite loss, but requires prolonged starvation. The ulcers also suggested prolonged sitting without movement, injuries matching bedsore patterns found in completely bedridden patients. And while maggots found on her body might have temporarily slowed infection by consuming dead tissue, they also proved open wounds when uncleaned by human hands. Doctors estimate the muscle atrophy in Lacey's legs would have made movement impossible long before death. Pressure wounds begin forming in mere hours for immobile patients, meaning Lacey likely endured years of open sores worsening beneath her. The presence of personal care items near the couch raises haunting questions about parental awareness versus action. They had supplies to help, but chose not to use them properly. Investigators pieced together Lacey's final days through forensic timelines. COVID symptoms overlap with sepsis indicators, like fever and confusion, meaning she likely experienced overlapping agonies. The bone infection would have caused excruciating pain with every slight movement. Yet throughout this, daily life continued normally elsewhere in the house. Mail came, meals were cooked, laundry was done, all while a daughter turned to skeletal remains just feet away from where her parents lived their lives. Sheila and Clay Fletcher told police they loved their daughter. The district attorney called it murder. When investigators first questioned them about Lacey's condition, the parents insisted she'd been medically cared for and ate normally until the end. Sheila specifically claimed Lacey's last meal was a sandwich and Cheetos, but the autopsy revealed nothing but sofa foam and feces in her stomach, proof she hadn't eaten real food in days, possibly weeks. This wasn't just flawed memory. It was provable dishonesty about basic care. The couple maintained respectable roles in their Slaughter, Louisiana community, while allegedly neglecting Lacey to death. Sheila worked as a court clerk handling legal documents. Clay participated in Civil War nonprofit groups. Both presented as upstanding citizens. Their home appeared ordinary from the outside, no signs of the biohazard zone inside, where Lacey remained confined. Neighbors later admitted they'd heard no cries for help, saw no doctors visiting, yet noticed the Fletchers never took out trash containing adult diaper products. Legal experts explain why prosecutors pursued second-degree murder charges instead of lesser negligence counts. Unlike manslaughter, which involves accidental death, second-degree murder alleges intent without premeditation. Prosecutors claimed the Fletchers didn't just ignore Lacey's needs. They methodically enabled her suffering while maintaining normal lives. The district attorney stated plainly, "We don't treat animals or neglect even our pets in that way." Items found near the couch complicate the case further. Why were skincare products placed just out of Lacey's reach? Why were clean clothes nearby while she lay naked with her top pulled up? Some investigators suspect psychological torture beyond neglect, forced degradation to match the physical imprisonment. Medical reports confirm Lacey couldn't walk unassisted for years before death, eliminating any possibility she arranged these items herself. A grand jury reviewed hundreds of scene photos before indicting the parents. The district attorney noted jurors sat speechless, viewing images of Lacey's fused corpse and the waste-soaked couch. One detail particularly haunted investigators. While prosecuting serious crimes for decades, none involved a victim visibly embedded into furniture by their own decaying flesh. the Fletchers posted $300,000 bond each and await separate trials in 2024. Their contradictory statements left them without credible explanations. They claimed Lacey refused help, yet her advanced muscle atrophy made resistance impossible. They described her as happily reclusive. Despite forensic proof, she'd begged for medical aid through screaming trachea damage. Those screams, doctors confirm, would have filled the house for weeks before death. Yet the Fletchers maintained life as usual, buying groceries, attending work, greeting neighbors, while presumably hearing their daughter's final pleas from just feet away. In March 2024, Lacey's parents were sentenced to 20 years in prison after pleading no contest to charges of manslaughter. Their initial second-degree murder charges were reduced. Despite this, the court determined that Lacey's death resulted from acute medical neglect, with her parents failing to seek necessary medical care, despite multiple recommendations dating back to 2010. The case continues to be a stark reminder of the importance of protecting vulnerable individuals, especially those unable to advocate for themselves. Lacey Fletcher's story is a tragic one. It is a story of how the most vulnerable among us can be forgotten, ignored, and left to suffer in the shadows. But it is also a story of justice, of a community demanding accountability, and of the importance of never turning a blind eye to the suffering of others. If Lacey's story touched your heart, if you believe that the vulnerable deserve to be protected, then please share this video. Let's make sure Lacey's name is never forgotten, and let's stand together to demand better care, better attention, and better protection for those who cannot speak for themselves. Before you leave, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you can be a part of our ongoing journey to uncover the truth behind these hidden stories. Share this video, and let's make sure stories like Lacey's are heard. Stay curious, stay compassionate, and never stop fighting for justice. Thank you for watching Secrets in the Shadows. I'm Charlotte, and I'll see you in the next story, Hidden in the Shadows.